welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for all those who have watched my previous two videos and liked and subscribed. Welcome to my new subscribers. This week I will be taking time off New Amsterdam since it's off the screen. I will pick it up maybe a week or two before we start in September. I've got an interesting series coming up for that. But for today, I want to get into Lupin Season 2. Before we continue, please continue to like, subscribe, share with friends, comment. Let's get the conversation going in the comment section. If you haven't seen Lupin Season 1, do you watch? It is currently on Netflix. Season 2 just aired maybe a week or two ago, but I was busy with New Amsterdam, so I didn't get too much into it. So, we begin the scene from the police officer's point of view, Gideon, who last season worked out who Lupin was and followed him to the seaside resort where Lupin and Claire, who was the wife, were walking around with their son Raoul when he got lost. So, from Gideon's point of view, he saw the boy kidnapped in a grey BMW, but Lupin and Claire were busy arguing with each other and didn't seem to see what was going on. Now, this guy is busy looking for Lupin and he sees Lupin and his wife distressed and he takes advantage and tells Lupin, I'll help you find Raoul. So they jam a car, try and steal it, and Claire was like, no, we need to go to the police. And Lupin was like, no. I don't want us to go to the police. And then Claire remembers that guy was on a train with them last season, the very last episode. And Lupin pretended or acted a bit funny, and Claire caught on but didn't really fully understand what was going on until it clicked to her that it was that guy that has kidnapped the son. And she exclaimed, I'm not going to trust you anymore. And so they jam the car and Gideon and Lupin set off looking for this guy. So they do a bit of car chasing. Then the scene cuts and we get a backdrop story of Claire and Lupin and how things moved on. So we got a little bit from them last season, but this time around we're looking at how Claire was looking for a violin to play for her audition and she didn't have the money for it. So Lupin had followed her to the violin shop and she didn't have the money and the guy was being a bit shady and Lupin called him racist and they left. And this guy left the shop and Lupin and his other friend had arranged to go and steal the violin to give to Claire for her recital. So that's exactly what happened. And the story cuts back again with the assassin, who is Leonard. In an old township, he went into a shop, wanted some coins to make a phone call, and the owner said, no, you need to buy something before, as we all do. You need to buy something before. So he bought a drink, and he decided to use the money to make a phone call. He called the person who hired him and told him that he couldn't get Lupin, but he's got Lupin's son. And then the guy was like, no, clean up this mess. I don't want the son, I want the father. So he ended the phone call, put the boy, I think at that time the boy was in his boots. He's tied his mouth and his hand, put him in the boots, and then around that same time, Lupin and Gideon, the police officer, also reached the town. He went to the same shop and then said to everyone, have you seen this man? Have you seen this man? And while they were talking, this guy drove the BMW just past Lupin. So Lupin and Gideon got into the car and tried to follow him. At that time, Lupin wasn't so keen on having Gideon follow him again. But they on their way, he kept getting text messages. He kept saying, oh, that's my wife, and tell my wife what's going on. But I think, looking back, Lupin had worked out that this guy was lying about his wife, that he knew what was up. And at some point, they connected on the story of Lupin and the fact that Gideon had actually liked the storyline. So with that, Lupin and Gideon kept driving on. They reached an old building, and I think the assassin had used the boy's phone to message Lupin. And Lupin has kind of a game that he plays with his son that he only knows the code to that game. So he put a wrong message on that if the son is truly the one messaging, he will pick up. But of course, he didn't pick up because he didn't get a clue. And that meant that the message was coming from someone else and not the son. So Gideon and Lupin got to the house, and then Lupin was like, "So, how long will it take for your friends to get here, your wife?" And it was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" It's like, "Well, you're clearly not talking to your wife. I know you're a cop, and you've been following me." It was like, "Oh, yeah. I mean, he hesitated a little bit. He eventually owned up that he wasn't a cop, and that his friends were coming. I.e., he had called one of his colleagues who trusted him to come, a lady whose name I've forgotten, to come. And so it'd be about an hour and 45 minutes. Before he realized, Lupin had already tied him to the chair in the car, so he couldn't get out. So Lupin went in the house by himself, and I like the arrangement of the scene. So this old building with so many weird and wonderful stuffed dead animals and a lot of cobwebs everywhere and very dark with so many mirrors and rooms, and the sun was somewhere, I mean from the viewer's point of view, the sun was somewhere in the room, but we didn't know which room it was. And Lupin was busy looking for Leonard the assassin, and at this point it had gone dark. So the building was dark, there was no light in there because Leonard had turned off the light. So you now have your other senses heightened because you don't have a lot of light flooding your visuals. And so anything that creeped or moved, just turn them around. And I like the fact that there were so many mirrors. So you have these reflective mirrors where you couldn't tell where who was standing and who was shooting who. And that threw both of them off because the subtle movements, you see a gun fired and actually hit the mirror instead of who was reflected in the mirror. And so the fight began, they fought each other, kept fighting each other, and Lupin threw Leonard on the ground out the window. I thought he was dead. I was like, yes. So I was like, come on, Hassan, i.e. Lupin, go and find your son. So he was opening about 20 doors, trying to find his boy, like this cobweb, just getting the cobwebs around, trying to find his boy, and he was struggling. And I was like, oh, at least Leonard's down. So Leonard was down, he had a lighter that he found the kerosene, and it turns out that all this time he had taken the boy back into the boot of the car. And I didn't realize. So the boy was tied up. The boy was banging, Dad, Dad, Papa, Papa, Papa. And Lupin was in the house looking for this boy, and Leonard was down there. So the boy could hear someone moving. It was like, Papa, Papa, is that you? And this was Leonard with a bottle of kerosene and a lighter. And I was like, oh no, poor Raoul. And by the time Lupin caught onto it, Leonard had already lit the car aflame, and at this time, the other police lady had arrived and then put down Lupin and tied him down. He was like, oh, no more funny business, like, don't be lying to us about your son being in the car. He was so frantically upset. He was broken down, he was crying, and the car was just burning up. And I was like, you shouldn't have tied that fool to your car because he could have helped you. I'm just hoping it's not true that the boy is dead. I'm just hoping that Gideon saw something and got himself out and saved this boy. But otherwise, this boy is dead as far as we can see from this episode. Now, the lighter, going back, the day Lupin went and stole, or Hassan, as his proper name is, went and stole the violin, on his way out, he found a lighter just on the counter from where he stole the violin, and he almost picked it. He almost stole it, and he left it there. And so it just comes full circle to find out that the same lighter or a lighter of some form will be used to burn his son in a car. And the last scene that it cuts to is a doll of a man in suit tangled in a robe, and then the scene ends, and Lupin was on the ground in tears, like he was so distraught, and I could feel for him. I don't know how he's going to explain this to Claire. I have no idea how Claire's gonna forgive him for this. But I look forward to watching and reviewing the next episode. If you have watched it, please leave your comments in the comment section below. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe. And I will be doing the next few episodes. I think there's 5 episodes in this season. I'll be doing at least once a week. I'll do a review of that in preparation for Succession will be coming back, and I'll do the last 2 episodes of um The Godfather of Harlem before it picks up again, and hopefully we'll get into it. Once again, thank you so much for watching my video, joining my subscription base. I'm a huge fan of reviews. I like to get to see the mindset and the thought process of these series. Just a great way of escaping beyond watching an episode. Until then, I'll see you on my next recording. Have a good weekend.